Well, after a very sluggish start, Homeland finally gets back on track with a very thrilling and frenetic episode that changes the entire course of the season overall.
The revolution will not be televised, and be no rerun, brothers and sisters. The revolution will be live.
Which agency? I can't say that here in an open hearing, sir.
You saved me. Yes. Why?
Hey guys, remember Homeland, Season 6, Episode 5, Casus Belli, and I was looking forward to this episode, but just like every episode this season, I really have not been into Homeland that much. It's always felt much like an afterthought. I really haven't been into the show as much, and especially after where we left off last week with them killing off one of the most potentially interesting storylines of the entire season. I really was not interested in this episode, but I have to say that I genuinely loved this episode, and this has finally been the episode that gets the show back on track. I really did love this episode overall. I thought there was a lot of great stuff going on here. Very, very frenetically paced episode, a lot of action going on, and it actually got me to somewhat enjoy Quinn being on this season, because I genuinely really did enjoy this episode. By far best episode of the season, without a doubt. But let's just get into this episode, because I definitely do want to talk about it. So we start off, and as we know, we end the last episode with a bomb has just exploded in Seku's delivery truck, and he was driving down a busy street. There are at least 2 killed and a dozen wounded, and the police and emergency crews are on the scene. Mia's in a full-blown frenzy. We see this guy going on and on about the bomb and things like that. I don't know exactly who he was supposed to be, but he's going on, and meanwhile, President Keene is being rushed to a safe house by security, and she's not thrilled by the security measures, thinks that everyone is overreacting, but for all they know, this could just be the beginning of a major terrorist attack. I mean, remember, they don't really know what's going on here. All they know is that a bomb went off. They have no idea how this happened or what could have caused it. So, I would really say they're underreacting, really. I mean, this could be a terrorist attack, and President Keene really needs to take that into consideration. But this is another thing that she's kind of brushing aside, and again, it really to show how flawed President Keene's views are. So, at Carrie's house, Franny and Quinn are gathered around the TV. They're watching news coverage of the explosion, and this is definitely the episode. As I've said all season, I have not really been enjoying Quinn on the season. I think they should have killed him off. This is the episode where I understand why he's there. I was honestly very happy that he was on this episode. I really did enjoy his presence here, because he really is the vocal point of a lot of what happens in this episode. A lot that goes down is mainly because of Quinn, and Quinn finally gets back to being that badass that we've been waiting for, and I was very happy to see that, because this is the Peter Quinn we all know and love, and I was very happy to see him re-emerge in this episode. It was just an awesome way to get him back to how he's supposed to be. But, Carrie's trying to calm Franny down, and Carrie receives a frantic phone call from Retta. The FBI is at the office, and Retta just learned that Seku was driving the bomb that exploded, and he tells Carrie to get to Seku's apartment ASAP. His mom and his sister are being interrogated by the feds already, and they have to do what they can to try to get to, to figure out what happened, because obviously they know that this could end up really bad for them. This was their clients, and they want to keep things as calm as possible. They know how Seku's family can be, so they need to keep things as close as calm as possible. So this gets Carrie to... So Carrie actually has to leave in this episode because, like I said, they're obviously worried about Seku's family, so she has to do what they can to get out of there, and this puts Quinn in the position of having to keep watch of Franny, which at first seems like it's not going to be a bad idea. These two are bonding pretty well over what's been going on. Franny is, Franny is telling Quinn about the story. I thought they had some really nice moments in this episode, but Franny's school is actually canceled because the city's on lockdown, and she doesn't have a babysitter, so she leaves her home alone with Quinn. So President Keene's flown out of the city by a helicopter. She's tossed in an SUV. They still haven't told her where they're taking her, and, she has no idea what's going on at this point. She doesn't know how she's going to get out of there or what's really going to happen. Again, they don't know what's actually happening. She just doesn't know what they're going to do here. So Carrie arrives at Seku's apartment, and the FBI is interrogating his teen sister and distraught mother. They believe that Seku set off the bomb intentionally, and Carrie's job is on the line, which we don't know if that actually is true. I mean, we know that Seku was obviously trying to get away, but who knows if he actually set the bomb off. They think that he did that because he genuinely wanted to, he didn't want to have to confess what he did, but the agent that had Seku arrested screams at Carrie that this is all her fault, and that she's the one who did this, so she blackmailed him into releasing a terrorist, and Yeah, I mean, that's very much true what she ended up doing. I mean, even though he wasn't a terrorist, now people think that Sekou is a terrorist because of what happened. So this really has put Carrie into the worst position possible. And I really did feel bad for Carrie in this situation because, again, we know that agent had a lot of bad blood, for that other character. I can't think of his name right now. Saad, Saad, who was on, who was with Sekou and who ended up being there to be the informant and who had done all that bad stuff, but it was, covered up by the FBI agent and things like that. That is the FBI agent that's screaming at Carrie here because he very much feels like she went against the code, and I knew eventually this would have some sort of impact on her for that happening, but Carrie heads straight to NSA to warn Raj that recording he gave her of Sekou is going to come back to bite him. It's a very bad situation knowing that he recorded this, and this can't end well for any of them, and she explains the bomb that went off is being linked to Sekou, and Raj reveals he actually didn't send her the tape in the first place, so we know that definitely someone had to do something with that. We don't know what that's all about, but we know that obviously someone had sent her that. So back at Carrie's apartment, Franny and Quinn are doing just fine, and they're just, bonding pretty well. And at first it was fun to watch. Again, I like seeing Quinn kind of be this friend to Franny. I like the bond that him and Franny had. But all hell breaks loose and there's a knock at the front door, and within moments, Carrie's house is literally surrounded by reporters, because now that they know that Carrie is the one who had to do, who was the one who was appointed with defending Sekou, they're going to get any sort of information they can on her. And there are press vans, and the babysitter managed to push through the crowd and make it inside to Quinn and Franny. The babysitter's name is Letitia, who Franny recognizes, and this is when Quinn starts to go apeshit. Right from here, this is when we finally get back to that Peter Quinn that all of us have been waiting for. Because the reporter starts stressing Quinn out. He grabs one of them, literally drags her inside, and chokes the reporter and demands to know who sent her and who tipped off the press. And, I mean, this reporter is relentless. She's even going to Franny, asking her if she knows anything about what happened. She's going to Quinn. I mean, she's doing whatever she can to get a head story. And, honestly, you kind of understand where she's coming from, because the press, they'll do whatever they can to get a story here, and they want to do something that at least sounds interesting. And, it's such a hot topic, they're going to do what they can to get as much coverage of it as possible. The problem is, Carrie's not there to say anything, and obviously Quinn's not going to let anyone in. He's not going to do that. That's obviously not safe. And what's great about this is that you could definitely make the argument that Quinn goes too far in this episode, but remember, every single thing he's doing is to protect Franny. So in a way, he really is living up to Carrie's expectations, and he really is doing what Carrie told him to do. He's trying to protect Franny, and even if he has to go to drastic measures, he will follow through with that. And he throws the woman out the front door, down the stairs, and Franny and her babysitter are freaked out by Quinn. She's about to call Carrie, but Quinn literally breaks her phone because he doesn't want Carrie involved, because if Carrie gets home, he knows the amount of media reports and things like that. It's just not going to be a good situation for her. This could really ruin her career. And yeah, I mean, we've already seen it kind of has, but they can't exactly leave the house because protesters have gathered outside, and they're furious that Carrie helped free a terrorist. So they want to do what they can to get bad blood on Carrie and, create rumors and things like that, but they're nearly storming the door. They're throwing rocks through the window. It's a very, very bad situation. And Quinn then shoots one of the men, tells Franny to hide in the bathroom. And again, some really great stuff going on here with Quinn just having to do what he can to get Franny out. Again, he's not doing this because he wants to kill civilians. He's doing it because he wants to genuinely protect Franny. But this episode shows that Quinn is still just as badass as he was. He still does have that skill set. He's still highly trained. He's ex-military, as we know. He's still highly trained in that field, and he can still take out a few guys if he needs to. So he starts shooting at them. He tells Franny to hide in the bathroom, obviously because he doesn't want her involved. So Carrie hears what's happening in her house. After many conversations with Retta, she realizes that she has to leave. She rushes home, and when she arrives, the police have barricaded her house and won't let her in. They think that Quinn is armed and dangerous and is holding her daughter hostage, which they honestly have every reason to believe. I mean, the way Quinn was acting was very secretive. He wasn't telling them anything. He was acting like he was a terrorist, and it's completely understandable why they do think that. But Carrie, she is understanding why Quinn's doing this, and, she's telling him that Quinn isn't dangerous, and this was by far, in my opinion, one of Claire Danes' best performances in a while, because while I think Claire Danes is good on this show, her performance is quite laughable at times. I will definitely say it. There have been many times in the show where she overacts, and she, she's so into this character where she does overact a lot, but this is one of those times where I didn't think she was. I thought she genuinely had a reason to be upset here. I mean, this is someone who she is let stay in her house, who she knows is doing everything to protect her daughter, and her career is on the line, so I can understand why she is so defensive of Quinn in this scene. You can really understand why she feels away, because he's really just trying to protect Franny, as I said, and I think that's something that Carrie, I was very happy to see, very much understand. So the police refuse to listen to her. They tried to send the SWAT team in, and their trip is actually unsuccessful. Instead of taking out Quinn, he takes the NYPD officer hostage too, so obviously that's not a good situation. But Saul then returns from Tel Aviv, and Dar picks him up from the airport, and Saul reveals he thinks that Mossad is helping Iran and Nafsi cover up that they are cheating on the nuclear deal. So he went straight to the surface, Javedi, and he's waiting for him to get back to him to let him know what's really going on in Iran. And again, I just don't care that much about this plot. I honestly didn't think it needed to be there. I get that obviously they wanted Saul and Dar in the episode, but they really did not need to be here. We had so much more interesting stuff going on with Carrie. We really did not need this, and I just feel like this was here to add time to the episode because they needed to be at least 44 minutes long, so this was just here to add time. But outside of Carrie's house, it's getting dark. The NYP realizes that they have severely underestimated Quinn because of how highly trained he is, and the chief finally allows Quinn to go into the house and try to talk some sense into Quinn, which was what Carrie should have done in the first place. I mean, he should have let her do that, and I understand why. Again, he thought Quinn was dangerous, but he realizes that Carrie's the only person that will get through to him, and their conversation, I thought, was genuinely very well done. This is one of the better Carrie-Quinn conversations we've had, post-Quinn being in the hospital, where she tells him that she doesn't know why he's doing, but she only can assume that he's doing it to protect Franny. She knows that he's gone to some pretty extreme measures, but she's relieved that Franny and her babysitter are safe. He has the cop bound and gagged, and Carrie's freaking out, obviously, because this is an innocent cop, and he hasn't really done anything wrong, and you can understand why Quinn's doing that. Again, he's doing it so he doesn't get arrested, but Quinn begins frankly trying to explain to Carrie that they're being set up, and he has proof on his phone that someone has been watching him. We know this is true. We know that someone has clearly been following Carrie, but Carrie thinks he's just in a daze. Carrie thinks that he's just kind of saying this because he's off his meds and that he's not, he's just so frantic that he's not actually telling the truth. She doesn't think this is actually happening. He was trying to tell her what's going on, but while they're talking, the police barge in, they arrest Quinn, take him away in cuffs, they pretty much destroy Carrie's house, like her windows are shattered and all that kind of stuff, and Quinn's actually arrested in this episode, which, again, I shouldn't feel bad about, but I actually did, because, again, this was finally the Peter Quinn that we wanted to see. This was finally Peter Quinn I've wanted to see all season, and seeing him have to be arrested was very hard to watch. I really did feel bad for Quinn in that situation. Again, you could tell he really did want to help Carrie, but, again, it was just too late. He couldn't help her, and back at the safe house, Keene is freaking out because no one will tell her anything about the explosion. She can't use any phones or internet devices, and he won't even let her talk to the chief of staff, Rob, who we know has been her rock basically throughout all of this, and they won't even let her talk to him. So she's freaking out. They finally let Keene watch the news, and the media is lambasting her for running away and fleeing the city after she was the one who was so lenient on Iran. She thought that Iran were the ones who were the terrorists, but now they feel that she's made things worse by doing this, that she really should have focused on some other bigger causes, and she's kind of ran away from it all. And I think that's something that Keene really is realizing, that being a president, it's a much tougher position than she thinks. And we've known this for a while, that Keene in general just didn't really understand, the multitude of what it the magnitude, of what it really means to be president and what that really does require out of someone, which is something that Keene hasn't really taken in consideration. I think after this episode, she's definitely going to start to do that. So things, needless to say, are not going great for Keene. But then we get to the ending where Carrie sends Franny to stay at Letitia's house after the chaos dies down her house, and her house is pretty much destroyed. She finds Quinn's phone on the floor under smashed glass, and she's shocked when she looks through the pictures on her phone and realizes that Quinn was right. He had photos of the man across the street tampering with Seku's delivery van in the middle of the night. He is the one who seemed to have caused the bomb, and that is the way this episode ends. She now knows there's someone following her, but that's the way this episode ends. Really great stuff overall. Let's get into this episode and where I think we're going to go for the rest of the season. So overall, great episode, which is very rare to say for Homeland nowadays. This is definitely one of the better episodes that we've had in a very long time. mainly because it kept things simple. This was a very simple episode. There was a lot going on. It was highly crazy, but it was a relatively home invasion type episode where Quinn had to do what he can to defend Franny, while at the same time Carrie was trying to, make up for the damage that she caused, because this was kind of her fault, what she did to Sekou, get into his head. And then Keene, she was trying to repair from the damage that she caused by ignoring things. This was a very simple episode in that regard, and I was very happy to see that. But there are a lot of places that we're going to go now, because now Carrie knows that there is someone after her, and who this person is, we don't really know, but we now know that he was directly connected to Sekou, and he clearly did do this to fuck with Carrie's mission. I think he did this because he wanted to ruin things for Carrie, not because he wanted to kill Sekou, but because he knew by doing that, it would kind of start this chain reaction where everyone would be against Carrie. He could do what he can to ruin her name and essentially, ruin her career entirely. I think he really wants to make her unhireable is really what he wants to do, which, again, we don't know who this man exactly is or what his real objective is, but I don't think he's working for Iran. I think he's been after Carrie for a while, but I think that definitely is going to be interesting to see where that's going to go. And now that Carrie knows there's someone hot on her trail, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where that's going to go, because that, again, really does change a lot of this season. Now that she's not defending Sekou, she is still working with Keene, but there is a whole other purpose for her this season. I definitely do like seeing that. There's always a long-term goal, and I like that Homeland is devoting itself to that. I definitely did like that here. As far as what's going on with Quinn, I don't know how long Quinn's going to be arrested, but I like that we finally got back to that badass side of Quinn. We finally got to see Quinn not just trying to find drugs, not just, fucking some random girl, not just trying to get with Carrie. He actually did something of relevance in this episode. He actually was, important here. He actually, he did what he could to defend Franny. He was doing what he could to, to live up to Carrie's expectations. And I was very happy to see that Quinn, for the most part, did live up to that. He did what Carrie told him to do. He didn't try to go against the mission. He just took things, very, very seriously, because, when she says protect Franny, he will do whatever he can to protect Franny, even if it meant ruining Franny's opinion of him. Because Franny, you could tell in the beginning of the episode, she liked Quinn. She wanted him around a lot. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, after what she's seen, definitely I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that Franny really wants to see Quinn after what he did and everything, but I was happy to see that Quinn did live up to Carrie's expectations, and he did do what Carrie told him to do. How long he's going to be in jail, though, I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if she's going to get him out of jail, or if that's going to be the whole thing. If the rest of the season is going to be Carrie trying to prosecute Quinn and trying to get him out of jail, that's something I am looking forward to. I think it would be interesting if the show did that, where the first, 4-ish episodes were her trying to defend Sekou, and then the rest of the episodes are her trying to defend Quinn. I think it would be interesting if they went in that direction. I don't know if we're going there, but that's going to be interesting to see if that happens. And then Keene. I really did feel bad for Keene in this episode, but she definitely did do it to herself. Again, these are things she really did not take into consideration. It's not so much that, she didn't think of them happening. I think she just thought, as we saw in the beginning of the season, that they weren't as big as a deal, and that she could have maybe focused a little bit more on them than she did, especially what was going on with Sekou. Never in her mind she focused on that. She really only focused on Iran, and that's mainly because of Dar. Dar is putting all of these thoughts into her head, and I think she's just very distracted by what's going on. We don't know enough about Keene for me to care too much about it, but I definitely did feel for her in the sense that she definitely wanted to, she wants to deliver as president, and she's really not so far. She's kind of ruining her name in that sense, and I don't know what's going to happen there, but I like where they're going with Keene. I like where, I like we're really focusing on her character. I think, I think Elizabeth Moss is great as a character, and I like where we're going with her overall, so even though I don't know, enough about Keene, I definitely do like that they are focusing on her. Very much reminds me of Allison last year, how they kept the focus very tightly on her. They're doing the same thing with Keene, and I very much do like seeing that. And I like Keene so much more than I did Allison. Allison was really only good because of Miranda Otto, but Keene is a great character. I'm really liking where they're going with her. My only complaint in this episode really was Saul. I don't know why Saul and Dar needed to be in this episode. It felt very random. It just felt like a detour from the rest of the episode, and it didn't feel like it needed to be here. I feel like we could have easily had an entire episode without Saul and Dar. Imagine how much more thrilling this episode would have been if the entire episode was just Quinn in Carrie's house, trying to protect Franny. That would have been incredible if that's what we saw. Yes, we could have gotten the scenes with Carrie, because obviously we need to see Carrie deal with what was going on, but how much more impactful would it have been if it was just Quinn trying trying to defend Carrie. That was the entire episode. I think it would have been an incredible episode overall. I really would have loved to see that. But this, I'm not going to lie, guys, this definitely was one of the best Homeland episodes in a very long time. I really did love this episode overall. It definitely does prove to me that Homeland is best when there's just absolute chaos. That's when the show is at its best, is when there's so much going on, and when you do have some sort of thrilling action happening. That's when the show is at its strong suit, is when it has so much action going on. I thought it was incredibly well done this episode. Overall, guys, I really did love this episode overall. This is the best Homeland episode, in my opinion, since the finale of last season. And I am going to give Homeland Season 6, Episode 5, Casus Belli, a 4.5 out of 5, or an A-. So overall, guys, maybe this episode of Homeland, the most guys thought this episode overall. Loved your thoughts on it. Did you think this episode was as action thrilling as I thought it was and things like that? But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the series premiere of the new HBO show Crashing, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.